All right, we got everybody to the various levels I wanted them at. So for those of you unfamiliar with what I'm attempting here, the study is as follows: is I got characters that could be promoted to level 25 promoted, and then I promoted them and got them to level 35. So aw. And promoted characters like Road and the rest of the later characters you get, they got 40 levels. So if it's not exactly, 60 levels, they all have the exact same amount of leveling at a technical level. And my numbers were actually very interesting because a lot of dark horses actually became more competitive. It doesn't mean that they're better or not. That's what we're going to figure out, is who's really the best in their fields based on the statistics we gathered. And we're going to throw some curveballs for this vanilla study. So this is a vanilla study. So I pointed out that as part of this study, no characters got special promotions, and the characters who are specialty classes will be compared with their closest kind of relative character. And they might get a bonus or lose a bonus based on the specialty of what they can do. And we'll figure this stuff out from there. And you can see all the question marks that I've shown. You guys are going to just have to take my word for it. I kept track of their stats. Every time they leveled up, I wrote down how much they leveled the stat up by, and then added all those numbers together to get their final stat for anything that went too high. So, without further ado, the first vanilla study that I can bring you. And if you guys have any questions about this, the parameters for the vanilla study, I did a whole video about the parameters, and it's up on YouTube. So check that video out. I'll try to remember to put a link in the description, so that way when that video, you guys, if you wonder what my exact rules are, it's all there. That way I don't have to waste 20 minutes explaining it here. So all I did give you the logistics of it is no bonus items, no rings. Every character is equipping a weapon that can be bought. No specialty weaponry, except in a few minor instances. Where if we're doing a final comparison performance-wise, maybe between Bowie and Peter or something like that, and we put Bowie's Force Sword on. Other things, too, is no specialty promotions have been done. All characters are their base classes, so there's no extra Master Monks, there's no extra Pegasus Knights, Sorcerers, Brass Gunners, or Barons, though we will find someone to compare them to just for the sake of comparison and giving you guys numbers. Are you excited, Meeps? I am. I am. So usually what we do is we'll start with the classes that actually are interchangeable, like there's multiple of that class. And they're usually going to be classes that are melee, then we usually do the casters later. The valuing system is very particular. Characters who are of the fighting types will be given a bonus. Now, if they are, I'm extending the amount of attack and defense, agility that should count. Normally in earlier Shining Force games, 2 stat points higher than another character is a win. I'm raising it to 3. I think if in order for it to not be a kind of a semantics tie, they need to be hot. 3 points or higher. I'm arguing maybe even for 4, but if 3 would be just enough to snake out a victory between attack, defense, and agility. For HP, it's the same rules as before. They need to have a minimum of 5. So that's something we have to think of. So a minimum of 5, 5 HP or higher, or 5 MP or higher is considered a perk in any character's direction. Casters is going to be a lot of their who's better is going to be based on spell layout and MP availability, followed by survivability. That means agility, defense, and HP. Attack is not a stat that I really care about unless they're Master Monks. And that might be an edge point in the case where we only have one Master Monk in this vanilla stat comparison. I think I've covered most other things. Again, they're not equipped with their best weapons to keep their stats low enough that we can read them efficiently. And there will be some kudo points if there needs to be, but not too much. And I'll explain those if they come up. And my rationale for why I'm allowing it. So I guess the first start is who is the best healer. Now there's two classes of healers. We have vicars who are priests, and then we also have the Master Monk as well, and we're going to compare them to each other, but the Master Monk's going to have an edge over everyone else to a degree because of attack and maybe survivability, but it's hard to say. So Meeps is going to write the stats down in the chat while I am doing this, or private message me if the chat gets too busy, and that way I can see them side by side, so we don't have to run up and down this menu looking for them, because as many of you know, this is a very large cast. So I guess we could just start with, well, you know what? I said we'll start with melee characters, didn't I? So let's start with an interesting one. How about that? Let's start with the Gladiators, and we're going to throw in a lemon with them as well. So the first character we have here is Jaha. And I do have the paperwork that I kept track with. So, Meeps, we're going to do Jaha first. So his actual HP is right on 100. He ended his HP right on 100. No MP. His attack is 99 with just the Great Axe. And his defense is obviously through the roof. It's a whopping 118. With an agility of 64 and a movement of 5. So, for a lot of people, Jaha is the go-to gladiator, because you can usually only get one Creed character, and as great as the theory, this is all theory too, is that all the Creed's characters are statistically the best characters in the game. Now, that's something that's going to take multiple vanilla studies to confirm, but there may be some credence to that, but we'll see. Let's go check out Randolph, who's the next in line here. Randolph, or Wild Randy, as I like to call him, the Robin Williams dwarf. Randolph, his HP is 105, so better HP. MP 0, which doesn't matter. Attack of 100. And 119 in defense. With 64 agility and 5 movement. So, with that said, the only thing he really holds over Jaha is that 5 extra HP. Really, right now, besides the 5 HP, I'm gonna make an argument that there might be better options than Randolph to pick out of Creed's Mansion. Now, we are talking about the best stats, but we're also going to talk about versatility and functionality. And considering they're only a few points apart between Randolph and Jaha, they're almost the same character. They really are. They really are that freaking close to each other that it's almost trivial. And if you can only have one gladiator in your party, you may as well keep Jaha around, because he would be easier to level up and get there. And it keeps other options if you want a better character from Creed's Mansion, which are the famous 4 characters: Elric, Karna, Randolph, and Terran. But they're very close. Most people say that Randolph pulls away. It doesn't look like he pulls away by that much, only from the first study. Alright, and we have one other one, Gaia, argued to be the most irrelevant of the gladiators, but he has the same amount of leveling as the Creed character. So let's take a look at Gaia. Now, Gaia's interesting. He's got 104 HP, 0 MP, 101 attack. So he has the best attack by 1 point, and 117. So that's a 2 point in defense. Not enough to be a tiebreaker. So, and 70 agility, which is he makes him the fastest of all of the dwarven gladiators. So, ironically enough, he okay, so let's take a look at these numbers. No, Gaia was the cat. Yeah, there was the name of the cat in the Beast Man in Shining Force Gaiden. So Gaia, 104, 101 attack, 117, and 70. He actually wins in one category over Randolph. He ties everything else with Randolph. HP is 1 point off. Attack is 1 point off. Defense is only 2. We said 3 is a winner. So Gaia's actually the winner. Oh, not legitimately, not literally. We still have a lot of more testing to do. This could just be a fluke where he got a lot of good stat upgrades that made him comparable. But look at how close these three are. That only the winner of technically all of it is only a winner by one stat and only by 6 points in one stat. And that happens to be the most irrelevant of the stats for offensive characters, which is agility. It's relevant, but it's not the most relevant. Take that data and put it to thought. That was interesting. I was very excited to see that. Because, yeah, for me, that was like, wait, what? Gaian was that close? Super kitty cat dwarf man. Meow! Let's do our paladins, and we're going to throw Charo. Oh, we were going to do Lemon. I'm sorry. We need to do Lemon. My bad. Now, Lemon is a Baron, and as a Baron, he hits more movement. But we're just going to compare them because the other gladiators can be alternatively turned into Barons. So, and yes, technically he's a red Baron, but it's still a Baron. Alright, so Lemon's HP is 106. He has 0 MP, of course. He has 103 attack and 109 defense. So, that's kind of interesting. He gets 6 movement as well. So he gets 1 extra space of movement, which is an edge point. Being able to move further can make or break a character's functionality. And he's no more or less got issues with movement than any of the other gladiators. So that's a thing to consider. But let's look at this now. Okay, so Lemon has the most HP, but he doesn't have enough to beat out Gaian. He doesn't beat out Gaian in attack. He only has 2 points higher. Gaian significantly destroys Lemon in defense at 109, but Lemon is 78 agility and 6 movement. So they're not necessarily tied, but they are very close. So that's something that's kind of interesting. Is that I wouldn't say Lemon is better because his survivability is lower by 8 points. But his agility is higher by 8, and that's substantial. And his movement helps him a little bit. The argument would be beyond that is then you go into the mithril weapons, which maybe I'll do some mithril weapon comparisons for these guys when we get there. For the specialty characters, because that's going to be maybe more relevant. But since there's 2, but even then it shouldn't matter. They should be performing at a similar ratio. So I take back what I said about that. All right, so that covers our gladiators and Red Baron. Let's go ahead and look at our knights. So let's take a look here at Chester, who the only stat that's in the unknown is his HP, which he had the second highest, or did he have the highest? Yeah, he had the highest HP growth of all of the characters in the game. His HP got to 122, which is massive. It's very massive and very significant. So his HP hit 122, beating out one other character by a point, but still, that's significant. And everything else involving Chester is not important. I mean, not like question mark stuff. So 96 attack, 93, defense, agility 81, and a movement of 7. And as a centaur, he suffers all the penalties that centaurs suffer for movement depending on terrain. So now let's take a look. I'll wait for Meeps to post Chester's stats here. Yay! So let's now take a look at Rick, who's many people tend to like Rick a lot. So let's take a look at Rick. His HP was 107. He has an MP of 0, obviously. He has an attack of 89. And he got... Where's Rick again? Oh, 102 for defense. And an 89 for agility. Pickle Rick! So, interestingly enough, he's pretty good on some other stats here. And again, I don't value agility too much, but if it is... the one thing that'll break the tie, it would be a slight edge. I wouldn't necessarily give it away outright, but it's a slight edge, and that edge is minimal at best. Especially in a game where the stats being this high is not that relevant. Okay, so we got Rick. So between Rick and Chester, what's interesting to note is that Rick has less HP, but his defense is a lot higher. His defense is 9 points different than Chester's. That's huge. 9 points of defense difference, even though Chester out HPs Rick by... Rick automatically wins for doing the cat face. Aww. Before it was even a meme, right? Also, the interesting thing, so Chester has 120... Okay, Chester's HP, 122. Chester's attack, 96 versus Rick's 89. That's 7-point damage difference. Now, again, this is one playthrough of the game with stats like this. We're going to be checking this to and against each other multiple times and kind of coming to a consensus on these stats. But for a 1 out, this is pretty good. Now, Rick, again, has 11... No. He has 9 defense higher than Chester, so that makes up for the HP loss. Maybe. It's about the same makeup. And then he has 8 more agility than Chester, so his turn would come up earlier. Chester, on average, for frontline damage. Now, here's what you have to consider. By end game, many characters are being hit with breath attacks, demon breath attacks, and magic. So, who has the better survivability to magic? Chester does. Now, with that said, enemies' melee attacks are going to hit really hard, so hitting Rick is a big deal, too. It's really tough. It's going to be the nuance of how you play this game. So, they're both arguably rather tied, with maybe the edge in Chester's, for Chester, who's usually one of the darker horses of the pre-promoted characters. So let's now go check out the one that everybody would suspect to win, which is Elric. So let's take a look at Elric here. And there's a reason why he's the beast. He's not the biggest beast, but he's definitely carrying his own weight. Elric has 117 HP. 0 MP, of course. He has, where's that attack for him? 100 attack. And then everything else is as is. So defense is 94, agility 84, and his movement 7. So this is what I was talking about. These levels are actually rather close. And this is what is good about a study that doesn't go to 99. Because you can carefully micromanage and take a comparison over several studies, which I don't know if anybody's really done yet. But like I said, if you want to help contribute to the study, you're welcome to submit your own video footage of your characters and stats. And make sure that you're not using an emulator to put in like cheats and stuff, or to do Shining Force editing software would be not preferred. So yeah, so Elric's not doing too bad. So that's interesting. Now we're going to pick the real dark horse of this group. And there's 2 of them. Higgins. Higgins. Oh, Higgins. How shameful you are. Higgins has a HP of 110. So that's not bad. He's not bad. He's a contender with an attack of 99, a defense of 91, and an agility of 78. I would still argue he's probably one of the worst, but we're going to have to compare him to Rick, who's probably his closest counterpart. There's no way... Well, he could be compared to Elric, actually. But let's get Higgins' stats logged in for what it's worth. So Higgins is 110 HP, so Elric gets the edge because he's got 7 HP more, as does Chester. His attack is 99. So he actually does the second most amount of damage compared to his other Centaurian counterparts. The difference is that he's so close to Elric that they're only 1 point different. So that's nominal. Which is not bad for a character who's normally considered to be terrible. Hey, Starman. Looking at defense, Higgins' defense isn't bad. He's within 3s. It's 94 to 91. That's 3. And you know what? Higgins is considered the worst of all the centaurs. I'm giving a tie to him. Fuck it. Elric's supposed to be the best centaur based on the Creed, premonition. Not premonition, the Creed standard that everybody says the 4 characters coming out of Creed are vastly superior at the job. And yeah, Elric is kind of... and on average better than Chester and Rick. His averages is right down the middle between them. But Higgins isn't falling behind that much. So this fair study was good to promote at 25 all characters and then make sure that promoted characters got the extra 5 levels so that we could say every character leveled the same. These are actually legitimately good numbers. Let's take a look at Charo, even though he's flying, and we'll compare paladins to each other another time. I might have to make separate videos and not live stream that, unfortunately, because I'd have to show you separate, you know, like video footages of me getting the data. But we're going to compare Charo as well. So Charo here has 108 HP. So that's not too bad. His attack is 97, his defense is 86, and agility 84. And you might sit there and go, flying is relevant. I'm one of those guys that thinks flight is great, but it's also kind of cancels itself out. Some of you say, well, how is that possible? And I say, simple. Flying characters do not get the benefit of land benefits, of defensive land benefits. So they don't get extra defense for standing in forest, marsh. They get 50% on grassland and 0% defense on paths and walkways. So flyers get no defense bonuses on the ground at any time. So I use that as a kind of a balancing out for flyers, because as great as flying is, if you don't have good defense to back up your flyer, he's easy pickings. But his attack is nothing to shake a stick at. His attack is 1 point better than Chester, who has the lowest attack. So, no. Actually, his attack is better than Rick's by 8. That's interesting. His defense is on the lower side, 86, minus the fact that he can't gain land benefit. So that doesn't help him either. And his agility is 84, which is comparable. His HP is 108, which is more than, just 1 point more than Rick. That's more of a tie to me. And he's close to Higgins, and he's a mile away from Elric and Chester. So he's not bad. So we got some good levels out of Charo. So this comparison, I'm very happy with the study results, because promoted characters are a lot closer to their pre-promoted character counterparts. So to me, I would argue so far, I'm not setting anything in stone yet, but so far it's plausible to make the suggestion that if the characters all gain the same amount of levels equally, you should be able to statistically compare them very evenly apart from each other. Maybe. Alright, and then, yeah, Gaia, I think, was like the winner almost. I think Gaia actually beat out the Gladiators, or he was on par with all the Gladiators. So that covers our Centaurs, our Paladins, and Barons, Gladiators, and Pegasus Knights. So what do we have now here? Let's do ranged. Ranged is what a lot of people argue about. And they make the argument that Road's the worst character in the game. So guess what? We're going to look at Road last. So let's start with May, everybody's favorite. Now May cannot be a brass gunner, so we're always going to compare her to the other ranged characters. There's just no way around it. And I'm not going to give her a perk as a Centaur, because she still, I think, takes the same Centaurian penalties. But she has 1 movement less. But we'll see how she balances out. So what's great about a lot of the ranged characters is not a lot of them actually went over into the question mark area. May's HP is 82. Her attack is 89. Her defense and agility are both 70 with a movement of 6. So not bad. Not bad at all. So let's take a look at Elric at 97 HP. So that's a lot more HP than May. Attack 84. So May beats him in attack. Defense is 77. And agility is 72 with a movement of 6. So they share the same movement, which is interesting because May's a Centaur. But Elric actually beats her out in a lot of areas. Now this could just be the fluke. It could be a fluke. He got a lot of good levels. It's hard to say. But an attack of... so his HP is 97. That's 15 points higher than May. His attack is... oh, I'm sorry. A little less than May's. It's 5 less. So May hits harder. But Elric's defense is 77. And his agility is 72. Now, 72 is nominal. I'm not going to include that. But defense and HP being as big as they are might make an argument for him being a better character. But with archers, they're usually not frontline fighters. So it's your, glass cannon versus, not literally glass cannon, but a character who hits harder versus a character who survives a bit better. Now let's look at Janet, who's the last archer, and the one I want to kill with fire. And you can already look at the stats and see why. Easily some of the worst stats on this list. That is not a caster. Now, in all fairness, she does beat out even Elric in HP. She has 98 HP. But man, her attack is 70. Her defense is 70. And her agility is 76. So she has the best agility of the three so far. But her defense is on par with May. It's equivalent to May. But her attack is 14 less than Elric and 18 less than May. For a ranged character, you need them to dish out damage. And Janet is not a candidate for that, so I would make an argument right now she's on the list for possible worst character in the game. At least so far. At least so far. Because we haven't looked at Road yet, and Road is notoriously bashed as the worst character in the game, and we've been surprised so far by some of these stat bonuses and these levels. Starman, hold on to your butt. Meeps, hold on to mine. Alright, let's take a look at Road, because I saw this and I was like, that ain't that bad. So, Road... Holy crap! His HP is 92, which is better than May's. So we'll do the comparison. Most people like May. His attack is 92. It is the highest attack of all of the archers, beating even May, who's at 89. So that's a 3-point difference. His defense I had to write down. It was not that high. It was, where's Road? 100. His defense was 100. And his agility was 89, which makes him faster than all of the archers. It makes him faster than all the archers by a... Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I read the wrong one. Oh, my bad. My bad. Road has 64 agility. That makes him the slowest of all the archers. I was getting excited for a moment. I'm sorry. It would help if I read the right stat. So no, that makes him the slowest of all the archers. Yes, it is 64, Meeps. Thank you. I was getting over my head. However, his movement is 5, and that's an automatic negative point compared to the others who have a movement of 6. But his defense... Okay, so think of it this way, guys. His HP is 92. That's above 90. His attack is the best out of all of the ranged characters, beating May by 3. His defense is 100. That is 23 higher than Elric, who has the best defense, whose defense is at 77. And then if you really want to rub it in, he's 30 points higher in defense above May and Janet at 70. So he doesn't just hit harder than the two of them. His survivability is so much higher. Okay? The only thing Elric and Janet have over Road is their HP is slightly better than his. Elric with 5 points and Janet with 6 points of HP higher. But in a magic shooting game, that's not that bad. And Road, from my experience, and all the people that I've talked to over the last 20-some-odd years I've played this game, have always said Road is the worst character. Now, this is where the argument begins. You get Road, he's the first promoted character you get, and if you promote characters to level 30 and 40 before promotion, they're going to outshine him pretty easily. This is a very, very fair argument. And I am not even considering that in the argument for now. When we actually get enough data to compile everything together, then we'll make a negative point for that argument. But until then, I'm just looking at base numbers here. But yeah, there is a myth that Road is the worst character in the game, but Janet seems to be out to be the worst by far so far. But he may have gotten some lucky stat bonuses. This could be a fluke. I'm not sold on the idea that Road's the best ranged character. I just can't believe it. Okay, the only thing, and the argument again that people are making is that, now here's the deal, if you level your characters to 25, promote them and use them, and you use Road, you could more likely get a really good Road out of it. Just saying, if you give him the same amount of levels as everyone else. Now, if you take away 5 levels, he might be a little worse than May. But he'll definitely be better than Janet, and he might be on par with Elric. But that's you know, up in the air. And it depends on what levels you take away from him, too. So that was, to me, fascinating. And I know that that's not a common... You know, a lot of people see that stat and they're like, I don't know about that. I think that's a legitimate, interesting turnout. And I'm sure I'm going to have a ton of people in the comments yelling at me that Road's still shit. But I want to see. I want to see multiple playthroughs with him getting to level 40 promoted. And I want to see where he really stands. And then I will judge him accordingly. But that's impressive for a guy who's considered the worst. Alright, next setup is we're going to do the Birdman. Luckily, there's only 2. And we're not doing Peter. That's not fair. But we're going to compare Luke the Bird Battler to Screech the Bird Battler. Bird Battler fun! The bird is the word. Now, strangely enough, they both have flying and they both have 6 movements, so we don't need to know that much. We really just need to know their basic stats. So Luke here has 104 HP, 88 attack, 81 defense, and 82 agility. So, Luke's not bad. He's not great, but he's not bad. He's definitely better than Janet. He's definitely possibly better than Elric, arguably. The benefit is that he's flying, but, you know, that's kind of up in the air. We might even compare Luke to Charo as well. I might do another Charo grab here. But we'll see. So let's go to Screech, rather. Screech looks like a major improvement over Luke, but we'll see. His HP is 102, so that's nominal. Attack is 97, which is a lot better. It's 9 points better? Yeah, 9 points better. His defense is 85, which is 4 points better, and his movement is 6, and his agility is 81. So that's negated, and the HP is negated as well, because they're very, very close HP-wise. But actually, Screech wins in attack and defense by a moderate amount. So technically, Screech would be a better option than Luke under these circumstances. Which is interesting so far. And then we'll compare them to Charo again. So let's take a look at Charo at 108 HP. So he has the best HP, and his attack is 97, which is on par with Screech. His defense is 86, on par with Screech, and the agility is pretty much on par with Screech. So really, Charo and Screech are very similar. Charo, I'm going to give the win to if you need a flying unit that's not Peter. Charo, under these conditions, is actually better than Screech, and you may ask why. Because Charo can use ranged attack weaponry, like the Valkyrie spear and other stuff, if you had it to spare. So technically, Charo would win. The swords do not... The basic swords that you can buy with Mithril do not outperform, in my opinion, the spears. So I would give it to Charo, but that's up for debate. That's a strategical debate argument that I'm not going to bother getting into at the moment, because that's a rough one. Alright, so I think we covered all of the basic melee combat guys, except for the specialty classes, which we will come back to later, because they are intense. There was some intense competition. I want to save that for last. So let's go ahead and do our healers. We're going to start with Sarah, and we're going to look at all of our vicars, and we're going to look at, as well, our master monk. And the one thing that won't be valued as much as the melee, unless it is hugely substantial. But yeah, it's not, it would be a tiebreaker, but it wouldn't, you know, I would not pick a particular master monk outright just because they have great attack. They have to have other things going on for them. So Sarah's HP, excuse me, is 102, which is actually really good, because that's as much HP as like Jaha and Luke. I'll even throw the other names of characters we haven't run into yet. Randolph Slade. It's up there in competition with all of them. So she's actually not doing too bad. 102 HP, 72 MP, 74 attack, 73 defense, 72 agility, and 5 movement. She's hovering around them 70s, which you won't get a complaint from me. With that said, her magic loadout is... she has heal level 4, detox level 4, blast level 4, and slow level 2. Slow level 2 is actually pretty useful. Detox level 4 is unnecessary. It's probably the weakest spell she's got. So I would give her 2.5 points for magic. Blast and heal level 4 are great. Slow is kind of a half point of usefulness. Detox is pretty useless. It's very situational, and we're not going to even bother with that as well. Meeps, can you put their magic in as well? That way we can compare magic. Because the magic's going to be like the make or break for a lot of these characters of who's the better character. So oh, let me put that back because she probably needs to see that. Yeah, so heal 4, detox 4, and you can abbreviate them if you want. Okay, thank you, Meeps. And then we'll look at Karna. Everybody's favorite is Karna, which is interesting. As a vicar, that's very interesting. She has heal level 3, blast level 4, boost level 2, and aura level 3. She gets a 1 point for all 4 of those spells. She has by far the best spell loadout. And she hasn't maxed them all out, which means she could actually learn eventually heal level 4 and aura level 4. But for the 60 levels she got, apparently it wasn't enough. Or I think that the way they track levels is based on your promotion levels, but this is a fair comparison. Aura 3 is godly, Blast 4 is awesome, Boost 2 is amazing, and Heal level 3 is sufficient enough. You don't really use Heal 4 that often anyway, but what's more important is Karna's stats. Let's take a look. So Karna has 107 HP and 112 MP, which is massive, massive amounts of MP, but in all fairness, Aura is a MP hog. Her offense is only 55, her defense is 61, and her agility is 75. So, she's actually worse almost in everything else than Sarah. But that spell loadout, oh. And that HP ain't too bad either. At, what was it, 107? So that's 5 points higher than Sarah, so that would technically count. Her MP is through the roof, 112. Though I might nix the MP benefit because her spells in general cost more. Aura costs a lot more to maintain. No, we'll give it to her. We'll give it to her because she could be using heals 1, 2, and 3 and blast 4 and whatnot. So no, we'll give her the MP bonus. Her attack is abysmally short from Sarah, but we don't care about attack, so that's not really a big commentary. 61 defense is still 12 lower than Sarah's as well. And Sarah's agility is 72, hers is 75, so her agility is slightly better. But right now, Karna's biggest selling point is her spells, because she gets 4 points in that versus Sarah's, what was it, 2.5? 2.5 versus 4, so that's a 1.5 victory. And that, you could say the 1.5 can go towards defense right there. Difference. And then she's already better than Sarah on that regard. So I would give Karna the victory right now. But we've got 2 more to look at. Let's go ahead and look at Freesia, who was actually very interesting. Now, he has no mystery stats. His HP is 99, his MP is 91, his attack is 85, which is pretty high. His defense is 78, and his agility is 72. So we can compare that to Karna and Sarah. And the best part about comparing him to Karna is his magic loadout is near on par. So this is going to be a battle of the casters, I think, right now. Because he's got 3 useful spells. And attack level 1 is very useful. It cancels out boost. But he does have detox level 4, and that's useless. Heal level 4 is good, and aura level 4. So he technically has the ability to heal every character on the screen for the cast of 1 aura level 4. And I will give him a half a point because he can do that where Karna can't yet do that at the exact amount of leveling. So that's interesting because that's not a random occurrence of stats. The stats are fixed or the spell learning is fixed. So the fact that Karna hasn't learned that spell yet is interesting. She would need another 5 levels, I think, to learn it. Maybe, and that may not even be enough. So, let's take a look. So, Karna has 8 HP higher than Freesia. The MP is also not as much as Karna. 91 versus 112. So that's what? That's What is that? That's 10. That's 21 MP difference. That's a big difference. His attack is 85 and his defense is 78. His agility is 72. So he's actually outright way better than Sarah. So, yeah, Freisia's outperforming Sarah right now. Making Sarah the worst healer based on this study. But this is really close between him and Karna. Karna's got that MP, though. And for these guys to have similar spells, so let's actually figure this out. So, attack is nominal. That's if there's a tie. Karna wins in HP and MP. She loses in defense, and she barely wins in agility. Technically, Karna's the better healer, based on that, because she still has the 4 useful spells versus Freisia's 3. So we're giving it to Karna, but we got one more healer, and that's Sheila. Let's take a look at Sheila. Now, Sheila's loadout is not going to help her as much. She's going to probably be comparable to Freisia, but I think Freisia's still better because he's got aura. And that would be the edge over Sheila. But Sheila the Master Monk, she has 102 HP, so that's actually not better than Freisia's. 80 MP, which is lower than Freisia's. 98 attack. She hits hard compared to the others, which is interesting, but she doesn't outdamage. Yeah, she outdamages all the healers. 79 defense, which means she has 1 point higher than Freisia, so that's nominal. And 72 agility, making her... Or wait, 74 agility, making him only 2 points faster than Freisia. So no, Freisia would be the second place healer, and Sheila would be third, but situationally could be second. But again, we're going to compare all these healers again, but we're going to do a better job. We're going to look at Karna and Sarah as Master Monks and see who's the best Master Monk, and then do a different way of evaluating the Master Monks. Because Sarah could actually be a really good Master Monk where Karna makes a better caster. It's hard to say, but we won't know until we try it. We'll also compare their average stats as Vicars versus their average stats as Master Monks, and see what class would really serve that character better, and then figure it out from there. So that covers our healers. Next are the Wizards and Sorcerers, which is going to be rather uninteresting, because it's going to be the oddest result I could think of. And I do think that I'm noticing a trend of these promoted characters getting a pretty good edge because of those extra 5 levels. But let's take a look at Kaizen first. Kaizen is probably the worst of the wizards. I'm just going to say that outright, but it doesn't mean he's the worst sorcerer. So he might make a comeback there. But Kaizen has 95 HP. His MP is 102, 66, 74, and he's the fastest... I think of all the characters, he's the fastest character in the game, which is, again, it's a Shining Force thing, I believe. Yeah, I believe he's faster. Yeah, he's easily the fastest character in the game. Not bad. His magic is Blaze 4, Muddle 2, Dispel 1, and De-Soul 2. Those are terrible spells. Blaze 4 is nice, but as you'll see with the other characters, he becomes obsolete pretty quick. So he's probably going to be the best candidate for a sorcerer, no matter what. So just saying, it's an interesting result, but it's sorry, Kaizen. I love you as a character, but you're bringing down the show, my friend. And I don't consider De-Soul to be that useful, so I give it a half a point. So he's really only got 1.5 points for his magic selection. Let's take a look at Terran, who's a great option to pick up from Creed's place. I like picking Terran up more than Karna because Karna catches up no matter what. Those of you who played this game know what the hell I mean by that. So Terran has Blaze level 3, Freeze level 4, Sleep level 1, and Bolt level 3. So he's going to get 3 points just out the gate for his magic selection. His HP is 91, which is actually pretty good. His MP is 91, his attack is 68, his defense is 66. And yeah, this guy looks kind of badass. I mean, come on. He looks like he's going to kill someone. And his attack is 68, defense 66. His agility is 79. So he's a lot slower than Kaizen. So that's interesting. So where does Kaizen really beat him? Not in HP. They're in a tie. They're nominal difference. MP, Kaizen has more MP. How much more? He has 11 more MP. Attack is 68 for... No, that's Terran I'm looking at. Attack is nominal. Kaizen has better defense. He has 8 better defense than Terran, I believe. And 79 agility, and Kaizen just blows everyone out of the water with agility. And I don't think agility is more tactically useful. So defense between the two is pretty big. Which helps with survivability, but they not against magic. Because their HP is close enough. So Kaizen can cast fire more often. I am making a party call. I'm making a executive decision here. Blaze 4, there are enemies that are resistant to fire, as there are to ice. So Terran wins an extra victory point for the versatility. I'm giving him an extra point for versatility. So he has 3 useful spells versus the 1.5 that Kaizen has. And I'm giving him an extra point for the versatility. Because to be able to cast all 3 major elements at a masterful level is important. So I'm giving the edge to Terran. I think Terran has the better spell loadout. He has all the stats to support his usage of spells. And again, if you level him 5 more levels, he might pick up Blaze 4 and Bolt 4 along the way. Whereas Kaizen will not improve from where he's at. He won't. So that brings a lot into question. We'll look at Taya last, because she's a sorcerer and she's kind of a specialty. Now, this was the surprise that I had. Chaz, the, I believe, official last character you can pick up, because you can get Lemon technically before you can get Chaz. Now, let's take a look at Chaz. 98 HP, but Chaz's MP is 102, so it's 10 less than Kaizen. Attack is 72, defense is 80, agility 74 with 5 movement. Now, he has the same kick-ass loadout as Terran, with Dispel being more useful, in my opinion, than Sleep, because it tends to work more often. But that's subjective, and I'm not including that. So I think that Chaz and Terran win tie on spell loadout. That can easily be agreed upon. So let's compare the rest here. Terran has 91 HP, while Chaz has a lot more HP. So he wins there. MP, Chaz has more MP by 11, so that's actually substantial, especially when they have similar loadouts. His attack is 72, so it's 4 points better. We'll use that as a tiebreaker. His defense is 80. He's the most defensive of the 3 wizards so far. With good health, 80 defense would put him 6 higher than Kaizen and 14 higher than Terran. So if you were choosing between him and Terran, technically Chaz is better. And agility is 74, which makes him the slowest of the 3 wizards. So meh. Here's the deal. Chaz loses a point because he's the last character you pick up in the game, which means you've only got a little bit left over to go before you'll finish this game. And to get him to level 40 and get all those spells maxed out is completely pointless. Getting Terran to 35, even with 25 levels of XP, isn't that hard to do. With 25 levels of pre-promotion, isn't that hard to do. Getting Chaz this far along, this late in the game, is a major point reduction. And also, any edge points he would get to beat out Terran, he's going to lose to Terran. He's just going to lose to Terran. Because there's no way Chaz can play catch-up without some serious time commitment to him. So it's kind of a novelty, and that's interesting that he is outperforming Terran right now. But I don't think that that's a reason for him to beat Terran statistically. I just don't buy it. And I think most of you guys would agree with that. It's interesting that he's this powerful, but objectively, as far as the context of the game goes, it's not practical. And I think we can all agree on that. So I'm still giving the edge to Terran. Let's look at Taya. Now, Taya's a sorcerer, and we're, of course, going to compare all sorcerers together that we can when we do it. And I think it'll be interesting to see who's a better sorcerer, Taya or Kaizen, to me, are going to be the best sorcerer comparisons. Terran will be interesting, but would you really want to give up that really nice spell selection that early in the game? And to describe Taya and to mention how sorcery works is very important. And I'll reiterate it again when we compare sorcerers. But Taya as a sorcerer, her big issue is that the more targets she hits, the weaker her magic attacks. So all of her attacks do the 5 enemy plus configuration attack. But when she attacks, if she attacks a single target instead of multi-target, it does substantially more damage, where she can one-shot pretty much most of the enemies in the game with one spell of Atlas or Neptune level 2, which is impressive. You don't get her that late in the game either. That's the other big point I want to point out. She's completely plausible. Let's go over her stats. She has 90 HP. She has 102 MP. 70 attack, 67 defense, and 87 agility. So that'll be interesting. So let's take a look. 90 HP. We're not even going to include Chaz. I want to compare her to Terran right now, because Terran's, to me, the big candidate. HP is only off by a point. 102 MP is actually more MP than Terran. With that said, I believe the average level 2 summon spell is actually a little cheaper than like Bolt 4 and Bolt 3. So MP-wise, she's a little more efficient, and she's good against bosses. She's good against single target enemies, and does massive catastrophic damage. Hence why it's important that we do the study where we compare the best sorcerers. Moving on. 70 attack, that's whatever, stupid. 67 defense, only 1 point better than Terran. 87 agility, so she's a lot faster than Terran, and movement is the same. So really, this is a toughie, but if you're going to go with 2 casters, Taya's not a bad option. Now, getting her to level 40 is rough. She'll probably cap out at 35, so that'll 35 to 32, and I believe she gets Neptune in there, and I do have the Shining Force Central stuff up just to double check, because I know you guys want to know, and I do too, to make sure I'm correct with these promoted characters. So yeah, she gets Atlas level 2 at 34, so level 29 is the Neptune summon, so she could be dishing out some 80 plus damage to an enemy, 72 to 80 some odd plus damage with a Neptune level 2, and Atlas level 2 would just be devastating to a lot of different enemies out there. So I just say the 2 best casters so far, based on accessibility and their spell selection, might actually be Taya and Terran, but Terran is the winner. He is by far the best mage based on when you get him in the game, his functionality, and his spell selection. So you can see I'm picking favorites based on other elements that are not just stat related. So that I think that's important. Okay, so oh my god, now we have to do alright, now we've got to do the beasts. So we're going to now compare, we're going to start comparing the specialty characters. So Bowie, we're going to compare Bowie, Slade, Kiwi, Peter, Gurholt, all of them. So this is a big one. So, and this is probably the one you all been waiting for. Now, I do have a great sword on Bowie. So for those of you wondering, I have the information here. And I know that this is relevant because of the Force Sword. So if we pull up the weapons and the Force Sword, we'll use the Force Sword stats. So really quick, this is what you need to know. If we unequip him, well, I don't want to unequip him. What's the Great Sword worth? Oops, I'm in the wrong weapon list. So luckily, Shining Force Central has a lot of this information. So with the Great Sword, his attack is plus 29. With the Force Sword, it would be 46. So, what's the math on that? How much do we need to add to his attack? It's actually not that complicated. What we can do is do 46 minus 29, so 17. So, let's say that so let's use this attack for right now. With the Force Sword, Bowie's attack would be 116. So we're going to use that number, because that is the legit difference between the stats, and I'm going to stick to that, because we're really going to compare Bowie to the best characters. And, of course, Bowie is his own little entity, and you have to use him, so he may as well be somewhat decent. So, 117, or what was, no, 116 was his, what was that what we were going with? Let me leave that up, 116. Okay, so his HP is 108. His MP is 31. His attack for this study with the Force Sword is 116. His defense is 105. His agility 68, and his movement 6. And he has Bolt 4, and I don't care about Aggress. You don't need to include Aggress, Meeps, because it's just a wasted spell slot. But he doesn't have more than those, one spell, so he doesn't have more than, he doesn't have a full spell list, so it's not an edge at any point. And I don't want to hear, well, Aggress is one of the most important spells. No, it's a force thing. Get over it. That's not fair to give Bowie edge because he gets Aggress, a spell that you can buy an Angel Wing and do the same thing. I'm sorry, his defense was 105. Can you redo his? So it's all one thing, because we have a lot of characters I gotta actually reference. So it'll be nice to have them all compared to each other. But yeah, 108, 31 MP, 116 attack, 105 defense, and 68 agility with the Bolt 4 spell. Which isn't bad. It ain't bad at all. But I've got some surprising results. Not that it's going to be anything that less than you suspected, though. For those of you at home who know Peter, he does pretty good. And we're just getting all the data inputted. Okay, cool. So let's now move on to Slade. So, Slade, everybody's favorite rat murderer. Not because he murders rats, because he is the rat that murders you. Slade is at 109 HP. So 109 HP, 63 MP, 102 attack, which is pretty good. Now, and I will make an argument, you know what, let's change his attack. Really, well, do we need to? Yeah, I gave Numbnuts the Force Sword. So the Gazarm is 42. So let me do the math really quick. So, the weapon is 46. No, it's not 46. It'll be... Now, the Gazarm also can instant kill things. But I don't consider that a big edge. It doesn't work that often. 42 minus 29 is 13 plus the... How much is the attack does he have right now? 102. So that's 115. So let me redo his stats really quick, Meeps. So Slade has 109 HP. His MP is 63. His attack is 115. His defense is 95 and an agility of 87. So, putting him to task there. So, yeah, okay, so let's compare these two. So, HP is practically the same. Slade, Slade has Keton 3 and Rajin 3. So, Keton level 1 is Blaze level 2, so it's really just Blaze level 4 and Bolt level 4. So, he has an MP to carry that. So, let's compare him to Bowie. Again, HP is nominal, MP is huge. It's double the MP almost of... It's actually a little more than double of what Jack Tart has for MP. His attack is 115. That's the same. Yes, you can... I believe Bowie... Yeah, Bowie can free use the Force Sword for magic damage. I believe. Is it this game? Now I forget. I think it does. Now I'm getting them confused. I want to say yes, but a part of me wants to say no. But anyway, regardless. Defense is 95, but Bowie has 105. So Bowie's defense is higher. And Bowie's agility is 68 versus Slade's 87. And Slade has a movement of 7. So Slade is pretty good. He's definitely got some... So yeah, oh no. Nice try, Meeps. Nice try. I'm not gonna look at it now. So it looks like Slade's a little better than Bowie. But that's not a big surprise, I think, to everybody. Alright, let's move on to Kiwi. Another argued worst character of the game, which is for a good reason. So it's going to be between him and Janet. But his stats may say otherwise. So Kiwi's HP is an abysmal 50. And then his attack and defense are both 114. With an agility of 65 and a movement of 7. And he gets hovering. So hovering actually gives him the defense bonuses. So he gets the flying ability, though he can't fly over mountains. But he also gains land benefits. So that kind of actually makes him better than your average flyer. For that purpose, but here's the problem. 50 HP. He's dead in 2 breath attacks if you don't heal him right away. It's hard for me to say that. I still don't think he's very good. I think he's a very niche character. You've got to invest your life breads into him to make him more relevant, and that could go towards a better character or a better option who might actually be better than him. But it is an interesting performance, but I'm not a big Kiwi fan, and you can kind of see why. I still think Janet is worse than Kiwi, technically, because Kiwi could go in there, hit really hard, and if an enemy doesn't use a magic attack on him, he'll wear it like a champ. And he's also semi-flying, so that to me values him better than Janet, and maybe even better than, well, I don't know, maybe even a hair better than Road, depending on what you prefer. But Kiwi he's just one of those characters. I think those are some lucky stats too, but we'll see. Maybe it's because I just have that hate for this character. So we'll wait to get Kiwi inputted. 50 HP, 114 attack and defense, and 65 agility. All right, let's move on. Oh, Peter. Well, you guys know this is going to be insane, so let's get to it. Peter's HP is 121. So he's 1 point of HP shorter than Chester. He has, his attack is 132, which is, yes, the highest in the game. So his attack is 132. His defense is 99. Or no, yeah, 99 defense, and his agility is 67. He's flying, so let's be fair a bit, because that's going to be hard for a lot of other characters to beat. He has a massive HP, second highest in the game by only 1 point, which is negligible. His attack is the highest at 132. There are some characters who catch up a little bit, but he's still going to be higher than 4 to 5 points above them, if not higher. But yeah, he's a beast. Now, one of the negatives, ginger power, it's because he's a ginger. Now, with that said, I will say something interesting is he doesn't get extra defense because he flies. However, he takes less damage from fire breath attacks and fire magic. So that kind of, the fire magic doesn't, it comes up, but it's not, I don't think it's an end all. So he takes a little bit more damage, so I don't really count the flying that much. Okay, so but he's so powerful, nobody's going to really beat him that easily. But we have some good candidates. Let's move to Gurholt, or Wolfman, or Wolf Baron in this sense. Gurholt's HP is 104, so that's nothing to shake away from. That's some good damage right there. His attack is actually the second highest in the game, at 127, with 98 defense and 75 agility. That ain't bad. And what's weird is he's faster than Peter. His movement kind of suffers though. I don't remember if he gets benefits for terrain for some reason, and I'll double check that since we have the Shining Force Central info up. I want to just make sure. I have a feeling that I'm thinking of Xylo, which I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so it's only in Shining Force 1 where the Wolfman gets a little bit better deal there. But he's not a bad alternative. And I do want to throw out challenges for you guys. A Peter-free ouch or hard difficulty. No Peter allowed. The only time you can use him is when he's in the party and you don't have a substitute. And even then, I suggest... And he's also on autopilot for a couple battles. So you can't help it. But as soon as Peter can come out, you got to pull him out. I think that would be cool. A cool variant. No Peter run. Anyway, so there's Gurholt, and he's actually quite decent. I was surprised he got as decent as he was, and I can see why a lot of people give him a good backing. Who am I missing from up here? I think that's all the specialty characters before promotion. So let's go to after promotion. And we've got 2. Let's look at Zinc. And yes, I know Kiwi has the breath attack. I don't need to hear that shit. It's garbage by end game. It does like 15 to 16 damage on a couple of enemies. That's nothing when enemies have over 80 HP. And it kicks in randomly. And I'm going to make the same bitching remarks about Zinc. So Zinc, his HP is 106 with an attack of 103 and a defense of 109. So as good as he is, I don't think he's better than Gurholt. That massive extra damage. Oh wait, I said that wrong. My bad. Hold on. Back up. I read the wrong person. Zinc is 106 HP. His attack is 123. My bad. And his defense is 105. So sorry. And his agility is 76. So this actually is a little more comparable. But he's going to lose a point because of how early you get him in the game. Or how late, rather, you get him in the game. You get him very late. So I am deducting a point for that. He also has the worst movement. Him and Claude have both the worst movement in the game at an abysmal 4. So you have to use your running pimentos and your mobility ring? Running pimentos. You got to use it on these guys if you even want to use them. And really, Gurholt's a better option. You get him earlier in the game. And of course, Peter's the best option. But it's not bad. And he has a chest beam attack in line with Kiwi's breath attack. It doesn't seem to kick in as much. I've only seen it twice or 2 or 3 times. But when it kicks in, it's substantial. But his regular attack actually ended up out damaging the laser chest attack. Sorry, Meeps. I am sorry for almost making you put in the wrong stats. And let's look at the dark horse of this entire section, Claude. 88 HP. So he actually has one of the lowest HPs of all of the specialty characters except Kiwi. But his attack kind of makes up for it. His attack is 123 and his defense is 130. So for those of you who say, well, Kiwi's defense is through the roof, you can fuck off with that. Claude beats him out by 16 defense and has 38 HP more, and he hits 9 damage harder. The problem is he doesn't move as well as Kiwi does, I don't think. Kiwi's movement was 7? He had a movement of 7? I don't know about that. Wait a minute. Kiwi had 7 movement? Yeah, he does have 7 movement. That son of a bitch. Is that an error? No way. Has he always had 7 movement? Why do I feel like he... How did he get 7 movement? Hold on, there's something weird here. I gotta look this up. I totally just overlooked that. Okay, here we go. Shining Force Central. Did I feel bad because I didn't pay attention to that. Okay, so it looks like when you promote him... Is that what they're saying here? Let me see if I can find it here. The move of 7. Where is it? I saw it as a thing that people were talking about, but I don't see where... I don't see it here. I don't know. I feel like I'm missing something here. Clarify, on normal difficulty, Kiwi is not all bad since all you have to do is wait at a mage, and he give you 7 move, float, and 98 attack and return, but on super difficult, okay. So yeah, he gets, for some reason, no, you didn't goof. No, I, for some reason, totally zoned out when he gained 7 movement. I was like, that didn't seem right to me. But yeah, he gets 7 movement, so his movement is pretty good. I guess I can't shit on him as much as I wanted. No, I'm still just shit on him. Fuck you, Kiwi. So Claude. So here's the deal. Claude loses a point because of how late in the game you get him as well. You get him around the same time you get Zink. And actually, you can get them side to side pretty much at the same time. With that said, Claude and Zink are kind of out of the running. You just get them way too late to make it really worth your while to use them, arguably. And if you're going to use one of the two, I would argue that Claude is the better one to use. Yeah, he has 10 HP less, or no, he has a little bit more HP less than Zink. We're talking 8 HP less, but they have the same attack, and but man, Claude has 130 defense going for him. The 67 agility. Let's just say this: I would use Claude over Kiwi any day. I'll say that much. And I would argue even Zink over Kiwi. If I had to use Kiwi or one of those two, I would use one of those two. And just put in the time. Now, with that said, Gurholt and Slade and Bowie are all better than Kiwi. You had to use Bowie anyway. But Slade and Gurholt are better than Kiwi. And then Peter is better than all of them. So who are the 3 best options? I would say Peter and Gurholt. And if you have room for a third one, which you may or may not have, I would go with either Zink or Claude under these particular conditions. Oh, wait, never mind. I take that back. Put in Slade. Fuck it. No, there's your 3. And actually, I don't know. Slade and Gurholt are really close. So let's take a look at that really quick. Slade is 115 attack. Gurholt is 127. So he does more melee damage. But see, Slade's got that magic. And he gets 2 points for those 2 magic spells. And you bet your ass I'm giving it to him. Plus he gets a point for his MP. Though that kind of goes in line with the magic, because you're comparing a non-magic user to a magic user. Slade's defense is 95 versus Gurholt's 98. Gurholt has less HP, but Slade's got only 5 points more. That's subjective. And Gurholt has 5 movement versus Slade's 7. I'm giving the edge to Slade. So I would say if Peter, Slade, and if you have room for another specialty character, take Gurholt. Take Gurholt. You can't go wrong with them. So, yeah, this is our first vanilla study. There's a lot more data we need to compile, but I think I like this leveling, this level range, because it gives the promoted characters a chance to be better than the base characters. However, I will say this: if I notice a problem in the study to which the promoted characters are consistently beating out the unpromoted characters, which did not happen every time, okay? It did not happen every time. It actually didn't happen that often. I think it only happened with maybe Gaia being the best average of them and Screech. So that's only really 2 of them. Taya's okay, but we got to compare to other sorcerers, but she's a good second caster option next to Terran. Freesia's magic loadout isn't that bad. You just got to get him there, and that's a little easier said than done. But he was still outclassed by Karna. Sheila wasn't that great. Zink and Claude are interesting backup options if you don't like your Gurholt development. You could go with Zink or Claude. Lemon was kind of floating in limbo, so it's hard to say where really he was. And then Chaz, of course, is pretty good. But then Lemon and Chaz are out of the running because you get them way too late in the game. So, yeah. So the next time I do this study, I will do another vanilla study. But before I do that, the next thing I'm going to do is collect literally 3 run-throughs of the game's worth of stats. We're going to collect stats from we're going to do Master Monks, and I'm going to actually do them in one go. I'm going to get Sarah to like level 25 and then kick her out of the party till we get the second Shining Ball. Or, no, actually, Sarah will be harder to level, so we'll do Karna. I'll make Sarah the Master Monk right away, and then Karna will just sit at level 25. And then when we get the second Shining Ball, I'll promote her, get her caught up. And that way I don't have to worry about the Master Monks. And I'll do a Master Monk comparison. And then I'll also I'll make sure to have footage for that. And then I will make sure, and I'll have footage, and then we'll talk about it. And then we'll also compare each of them to the Sheila stats that and I'll take the best average of Sheila stats. That way Sheila has a fighting chance against these other Master Monks that are going to come in. So, yeah, I'll probably compare Sheila to the others. During these extra playthroughs, I'm not going to be focusing on leveling all the other characters up. I just want to get the specialty characters leveled. So, Master Monks, Sorcerers, and Pegasus Knights. Though many of you might say, well, you'll get more info from the other stats. That's true, but I don't really care about it that much. I'd rather keep the vanilla study as vanilla as possible. For the time being, and maybe I'll try to compare some stats for the promotion stuff, like what do characters lose when they promote to Baron versus when they stay Gladiators and so on. We'll try to get some of that information going. Did we? No, so we'll try to get some of that information going. So there's a lot of data here, and then a lot of these question marks. You're just gonna have to take my word for it. But I do like this leveling idea. I could level them lower, but and if some of you would think that we should lower these levels to 30, maybe 30, 35 to be more objective to a standard playthrough of the game, that's an option too. Or we could do 25, 25. So 25 before promotion, 25 after, and 30 for promoted characters. But I do like this as the foundation for the stat practice, because a lot of characters get most of their spells to a significant level without going absurdly high. Once you try to pass level 40 as a character, it becomes rather difficult for getting the XP. Those Xeon Guardian dudes, I was just wailing away, and at one point it just got to like 1 XP, and it was just monotonous. So, yeah, the other reason I'm not doing that. But for the vanilla study, this is a really good set of numbers to start. Nothing is set in stone. All of the ones I picked as my favorites are subjective in many, many ways. And I do not have enough data from one study to make a consensus about anyone except maybe Janet and Kiwi. And the only reason why is Janet was so abysmally lower than everyone else. It's kind of hard to see her catch up, but I want to see if she can on another vanilla. But I do, and Kiwi is just fundamentally how he's designed as a character. I don't think he's that great. I think there are better options out there. But it doesn't mean Luke's a better option. It's just that's a different option. But we'll look more into it. I'll run some numbers some more and get another study back to you guys. Again, I might try to do the vanilla study twice a year or maybe 3 times a year if I can do it, because it really, once I got into the momentum of doing this, I was able to keep up and get it done somewhat quickly. Quicker than I thought it was going to be, but it still was time consuming. Whereas with the other classes, I'm just going to plow the road and get the data for a whole vanilla set. So the vanilla being no altered classes, but I'm also going to include the altered classes as like the add-on video that I'm going to do. So it's going to be me recording footage, probably muted footage, so that way I can talk over my findings, and we can do some comparisons and whatnot, and see who's the best of the specialty classes for the first round of stat gathering between the vanilla study and the specialty class study as well. So anyway, I want to thank you guys for stopping by. I know this was a long sit through, so many characters, but when we come back with more of this, I will hopefully have some more data for you guys, and I might also have some more data on the specialty classes as well. But we've got some Lunar 2 Eternal Blue going on right now on the channel. I'm doing more with the novelization of Final Fantasy audiobook. I know it's been sitting there for about a month and a half with no new audiobook chapters added, but I think it's on chapter 3 plus the prologue. But I'm halfway through writing chapter 7. So I find myself writing the book more quickly than I am recording the audiobook stuff, because I know I throw music and sound effects and visuals and stuff in there for you to make it fun and interesting. Though if I stopped doing that, I guess I could produce the audiobooks faster, but then you wouldn't have cool music and sound effects and stuff. And if I didn't do the voices for the characters, my vocals would be less strained. But I do those things because you guys seem to really like the one-man show, at least for the time being. So anyway, thank you guys for stopping by. I am your host, the RPG Guy. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Support the channels you watch. Check me out here at Jacktard Studios. Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/JackTartStudios for live streaming action. We have one of the best communities, I think, on Twitch. We have wonderful people who have zero censor on their humor. We have wonderful, beautiful ladies and wonderful, beautiful gentlemen, and those who are not beautiful are beaten with kendo sticks until they are beautiful, one way or the other. No, I'm just kidding. We have a lot of wonderful people here with good senses of humor and a good time, and we play JRPGs games. We also have our tabletop show, the Chairman of the Board show, that meets Tuesdays and sometimes on Sunday nights, 7:30 Pacific Standard Time, and we have once every other week the Hobo Headcrab Blind Play show, where he blind plays through JRPGs and other games that he missed out on, as he is a legit millennial, and he is having a ball. He's having a blast. He's playing. I think he's halfway through Grandia 2 right now, so that, you definitely don't want to miss out on that show, because you get to see us in person. You get to see our physical bodies, and some things you cannot unsee. So, and we get fucking shit-faced too on that show. It's great. So anyway, thank you guys for stopping by, ladies and gentlemen. Thank the wonderful and lovely Meeps, or Me Plus. She was here keeping all the stats in chat for me, so I could follow along and do easy comparisons. I know that with the specialty characters, I didn't do too much as closely statistically as I did with the others, but that's because they're so vastly different that it's kind of hard to do anything really straightforward. But yeah, but for everything else, and she always volunteers to do the simplification for me, so I don't have to keep going up and down through the stats. So anyway, so there's our study, our first vanilla study. I'm going to make more vanilla studies later, and then take the averages of stats and compare them together. And I'm going to have to make a spreadsheet of each time I get the characters to the level 40, level 35 spectrum of levels. And then from there, kind of start doing the averages. I think when we have about 4 to 8 studies, we can start narrowing in the more likely stat benefits and figure out who's statistically more likely to be the best character, not just in stats and performance, but consistency too, because consistency is important. So anyway, thank you guys for stopping by. We'll see you guys next time.